This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Well, I regret to inform you that we still have a double standard in this country. We still have two tiers of justice. Dirty cop James Comey was just arraigned in D.C., and there was no perp walk. There was no orange jumpsuit. There was no mugshot, at least not yet. They allowed Comey to come in the back way through the parking garage. So all the cameras set outside the courthouse were there for no reason at all. Although they did get the protesters. There's about 6 protesters who look exactly like you'd expect old, scrawny, white hippies out there in support of a corrupt FBI director. Man, how times have changed. Now the hippies are out there supporting a corrupt FBI official. But so far, we've not seen the mugshot. He has been arraigned. Yes, the first person. It's October 8th. Trump's been in office for more than 9 months, and we finally have a corrupt Democrat arraigned. Will there be more? There had better be. It is just incredible what we're living through. We are still waiting for the arrests. We're still waiting for justice, for accountability. And every day we see more corruption. Now we know it's been confirmed the Biden family was taking money hand over fist in Ukraine. Hunter was trying to sell land around the embassy in Romania. Trump was right when he told Zelensky he should look into the corruption involving the Bidens. Now we know Jack Smith was surveilling sitting U.S. senators, was looking at their phone records in his investigation into January 6th. It doesn't end. Every day we find out how corrupt the Biden regime was, and the FBI and the DOJ, and nobody gets arrested. Nobody gets held accountable. It really is an amazing thing to watch. We voted for this. We voted for James Comey to be arrested and perp walked and mugshotted. So what is going on? Why was Roger Stone, who was charged with the same crimes, why was his house invaded at 6 a.m. with 29 armed FBI agents and a CNN camera? And why was he perp walked out of the house on camera? And why does James Comey get to turn himself in through the parking garage? I don't know. It's not a big thing, but it is frustrating. Why the double standard? Why the 2 tiers of justice when we voted to change that, when we voted for accountability? But that's just one thing that's going down on this Wednesday, October 8th. The National Guard from Texas is on its way to Chicago. Yes, the good people of Chicago, the taxpayers, the shop owners, the residents, the Americans will finally get what they've been begging for, a crime-fighting force that wants to bring law and order to their city against the wishes of the Democrats they elected. They elected Pritzker. They elected Brandon Johnson. They voted for Democrats who are completely invested in protecting gang members, illegal aliens, criminals, drug dealers, cartel members, Tren de Aragua members. But too bad. The federal government is on the ground in Chicago, and there will be law and order. There was a moment yesterday from Kash Patel that was just mind-blowing, eye-opening, to say the least. Kash Patel, FBI director, who's working hard to bring law and order to American cities, revealed just how bad things are in Chicago. This is remarkable. You have an American city, the third biggest city, an important city, overrun with gang members, with gangs, street gangs. We see the results every weekend. 20, 30, 40 people shot, 5, 10, 15 people dead every weekend, something like 1,200 shootings. This year, last weekend, 26 people shot, 7 dead. And the mayor and the governor and all the elected Democrats just whistle past the graveyard and say, we don't need help. We don't need law enforcement. We don't need any assistance from the federal government. Things are great. Pritzker posts videos of him taking a walk or a waddle at 6 a.m. as the sun's coming up and says, look, we got a peaceful city here. We don't need help. Yes, you do. Here's Kash Patel talking about the situation on the ground in Chicago.
Taking the juggernaut that is demolishing the weaponization of law enforcement and bringing it to places like Chicago. When I was there today with Todd, we learned that the Chicago city streets have 110,000 gang members. That's right. You heard me right. They had 1,200 shootings this year alone, 360 homicides. When politicians choose to side with those metrics and not their citizenry, thank God we have President Trump and this Department of Justice and this FBI going in there and crushing violent crime. And President Trump sent us into these cities quietly to set the stage, to set up for the National Guard, to see the success that we saw in Washington, D.C., in Memphis. The FBI has been leading the charge in every single one of these streets because we know how to gather ground level intelligence and we know how to put handcuffs on the bad guys. And we know that we have the backing of this administration. And most importantly, the agents at the FBI know that they have the backing of the American people and their government.
Yes, they do. 110,000. That's a good sized city. 110,000 gang members, armed criminals in Chicago. And the governor and the mayor says he's going to give them an ICE-free zone where they'll be protected by the city from federal agents, from federal law enforcement. I can't imagine there's a single innocent taxpayer, citizen of Chicago who isn't applauding this, who isn't welcoming FBI, ICE, Border Patrol into their city to get rid of the 110,000 gang members in Chicago. But it doesn't matter. Trump's doing it, so the Democrats are against it. Trump wants law and order, so they want crime. They want chaos. This is remarkable when you think about all the political crime, the political violence we've seen in recent weeks, the shootings, Charlie Kirk, the shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas, the bounty that was placed on a high-ranking ICE official in Chicago, $10,000 if you kill an ICE agent. They arrested the guy, the gang member who put the bounty on the ICE agent. It does feel like we are heading to darker times here, that it is going to get worse. It is going to get more violent. And what will J.B. Pritzker say then when an ICE agent is assassinated? What will he say then when a cop gets murdered because he's provided sanctuary protection for the killer, for the gang member, for the criminals? It truly is remarkable. You have a sitting governor of a big state, Illinois. He didn't earn the job. He bought it. He's a little rich punk who spent like $100 million of his own money to buy that seat. But he's the governor of the state, and he is still calling ICE, still calling the Trump administration Nazis. Yes, Nazis. It's just so insane when you think about it. You can criticize them all you want, but you use this language and then you kind of give this permission structure to people, because what do you do with Nazis? You kill them. I mean, you call someone Hitler, of course you're going to take extreme measures. It's the playbook they have. Label them, brand them as Nazis, brand them as fascists, and then let your street animals do the rest. Let the guy in Dallas get up on the roof and take shots at ICE because, the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. This is yesterday. This bloated fraud, J.B. Pritzker, comparing what we're seeing on the ground in Chicago to Nazi Germany. Go ahead.
What I know is in the early days of the Nazi regime, they started slowly but surely taking away people's rights. And what we're seeing now is the very same thing. They've gone into cities now with the military. Think about that. In your lifetime, have you ever seen anything like that, where the President of the United States is sending military or troops dressed as military, ICE and CBP, in camouflage with automatic weapons into our major cities? It's wrong. And indeed, especially at a time when it's the president of the United States who's causing the mayhem on the ground. We've actually done very well in Chicago bringing down crime.
You have 110,000 gang members. You had 1,200 shootings. The reason Trump is doing this, the reason Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are doing this is because you couldn't do your job. You couldn't protect innocent people. You're providing sanctuary to gang members. So the federal government has to go in there. And again, the people of Chicago are thrilled. The average taxpayer is thrilled. Have we ever seen that before? I don't know. Kathy Hochul sent the National Guard into the subways because crime was out of control. Gavin Newsom deployed the National Guard because of COVID to stop people from, going to church or paddleboarding or skateboarding. He used the National Guard, the military, to stop people from going outside and breathing fresh air in California. George Wallace, Kennedy sent the National Guard to Alabama to allow black kids to go to school. Yes, we've seen this before when the situation is out of control, which it is, as we've just explained, as Kash Patel just explained in Chicago, 110,000 gang members. This is a daily theme and it is scary. It is a scary development. They're not backing down. There is real political violence from the left. That is their answer. Trump has pushed them to the edge, pushed them to the brink. They've lost their minds. And what they want now is their foot soldiers on the street to act out, to get violent. They've gotten permission from their leaders to get violent. It's gotten to the point where it's not even a big story anymore. Hell, the Attorney General candidate in Virginia, Jay Jones, who wants to put a bullet in the head of his political opponent, who wants to kill his political opponent's children and piss on their graves, that guy, he has not been denounced by a single prominent Democrat. And the media, ABC, CBS, NBC, NPR, have completely ignored the story. A major candidate for Attorney General in a big state, an important state, wants his opponents dead. He wants cops dead because then they won't kill, more innocent people. And the media is not covering it. They're so corrupt. They're so dishonest. But here's a story that got no coverage. I mean, no coverage. I had to kind of go look for it and read about it. It's almost like just another day in America where left-wing violence is just part of the just another day in life in America. This was in Washington, D.C. the other day. Tell me if you even heard about this. This is from the Daily Wire. Washington police on Sunday arrested a man with hundreds of explosive devices outside a church holding a mass in honor of the Supreme Court. The man had a manifesto that suggested he was targeting the Supreme Court and Catholics, according to court papers. Louis Gerry, a 41-year-old from Arizona and New Jersey, was apprehended outside the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle on October 5th, the same day the church held its Red Mass, in which a cardinal prays for the High Court as it embarks on his term. He was occupying a green tent on the steps of the church when police attempted to clear the area. He told police, "You might want to stay back," and called the federales. "I have explosives." He did. He had 200 explosive devices. He was in a tent outside the church where Supreme Court justices normally go to mass on this day. Last year, 3 of them went, including Brett Kavanaugh. This year, they were told to stay away. Good advice. But a Democrat was outside the church in a tent with 200 explosive devices planning to blow the church up. They caught him. They stopped him. But what if they hadn't? A church in D.C. would have been blown up with people inside. That's where we are. And it's not even a headline. Hell, it's not even a mention on many of the mainstream media outlets. Oh, they won't mention that because I guess the guy didn't succeed in killing, hundreds of Catholics who were going to mass because he was upset at Catholics and at Supreme Court justices. And it's not even a story. It has become normalized. I'll tell you what is a story. We're going to get to the scenes in New York and Boston and other cities, which were disgusting yesterday. But I want to get to this one because this tells you so much about the media. Again, no mention of Jay Jones, the maniac, the psychopath who might be the next Attorney General of Virginia, who wants to kill his opponent, wants to kill his opponent's kids, wants to kill cops. That guy, no, not a big deal. Just, a couple of regrettable texts and no mention of the fact that every single prominent Democrat has refused to denounce him, condemn him, and call for him to get out of the race. But there was a fire in South Carolina. Maybe you didn't hear about this either. Wouldn't be surprised. A fire in South Carolina over the weekend, big fire, at the home of a judge, Diane Goodstein, her home on Edisto Island, South Carolina, big, beautiful home. And it burnt to the ground. And it burnt to the ground, by the way, at 11:30 in the morning, which gives you some sense that it probably wasn't arson. But she is a judge who's ruled against the Trump administration in the past. So what does that mean? That means the media, that means Democrats are going to glom onto this and blame Republicans, blame Trump. This is remarkable. There's no evidence of arson. The local law enforcement in South Carolina came out and said no evidence of arson. The judge's ex-husband was there, 81 years old. He broke bones jumping from the fire, was rushed to the hospital. A couple other people were there. Nobody was hurt. I mean, nobody was killed. There were injuries, but nobody was killed. It's an amazing scene. Big house on the water, up in flames. A anchor, Nicole Wallace, an absolute deranged, angry cat lady, goes on the air and immediately starts insinuating that this was right-wing violence. Again, no mention of Jay Jones, no mention of the guy with 200 explosive devices outside the church. But this, a fire that just so happens to burn the house of a judge, this is clearly MAGA. Listen to her.
When we come back, what we're learning about the fire that destroyed the home of a South Carolina circuit court judge who faced criticism from Trump officials after a ruling she made against the Trump administration. And it comes amid a surge in hostility and threats against judges, as well as criticism directly from the Trump administration, including for Judge Goodstein, after she temporarily blocked the Justice Department from accessing the files of millions of registered voters in South Carolina. Mary McCord is still with us. Mary, what questions do you have based on what we're hearing so far?
This is the kind, again, we've talked today already about crossing Rubicons, right? And when you're starting to attack judges because of their rulings, we're in a very, very dangerous position in this country. And it makes judges fearful. It makes prosecutors fearful, as we know. It makes others in positions where they could be criticized by Donald Trump fearful. And he needs to know the power of his voice and how people respond to that. We've been saying this for years, Nicole, but if this is what this turns out to be, some sort of politically motivated act of domestic terrorism, then, the importance and significance of the things that Donald Trump says about a person just, again, will be demonstrated in this instance.
There's no connection. There's no arson. It has nothing to do with Trump. And yet they're going to tie it to him because she was a judge on their team. Here's Dan Goldman, a congressman. Again, like Pritzker, didn't earn the seat, bought the seat. He's the heir to the Levi Strauss fortune, who just was just an absolute deranged Trump hater from New York. He tweets after seeing the story, and there's a story. It says, South Carolina Judge Diane Goodstein's home is burning to the ground after an apparent explosion. That's the news story. And he tweets, Trump, Stephen Miller, and MAGA World have been doxing and threatening judges who rule against Trump, including Judge Goodstein. Today, someone committed arson on the judge's home, severely injuring her husband and son. Will Trump speak out against the extreme right that did this? It's still up. A congressman is accusing Trump, hell, he's accusing MAGA of committing arson when there was no evidence of arson. He just made that up. And he hasn't deleted the tweet. He hasn't apologized. He wants Trump to denounce the person who committed an arson, even though there was no arson. That's where we are right now. They're doubling down. They're getting more deranged. They're not holding back. They want violence. Is there any doubt about that anymore? That leaders, this is a leader of the Democrat Party, Pritzker, Goldman, Brandon Johnson, hell, MSNBC. They want violence. They want people to act out violently. And it's out of control, which is why Trump is sending in the National Guard into American cities. It is, this is law and order versus chaos. That's the side Dan Goldman is on. That's what Nicole Wallace wants. She wants chaos. They wake up every day. Nicole Wallace wakes up every day, and before she logs on her computer or turns on her TV, she says, please, God, give me some violence from the other side. Please give me some crazy MAGA guy who burns a church or burns a judge's home or shoots a Democrat. They want it so badly. They can taste it, and they're not getting it. Quite the contrary. Their side is out of control. Their side is like a petulant child who can no longer use his words, is going to kick and scream and lash out. And what we saw last night, all over the country, by the way, all over the West, was beyond nauseating, beyond sickening. I knew it was coming. I was braced for it, but I can't tell you how repulsive this is. It was, as we know, the second anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel, where they slaughtered 1,200 innocent people, 254 hostages, murdered women and raped their corpses, murdered babies, burned families alive in their homes. One of the worst atrocities we've ever seen, the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And what did many, many people in this country do on that anniversary? They celebrated. Again, I knew it was coming. I knew there are a lot of radicals. There are a lot of young people who've been radicalized on college campuses, in their classrooms, online, but they celebrated. And this hasn't got enough attention because, again, we talked 24 years ago about never forgetting what happened in New York City. We talked 2 years ago about not forgetting what was done to these innocent people, including Americans. I'm just going to say, once again, we have forgotten. If you're watching along, this is Times Square, and those are Hamas flags flying in Times Square in New York City. Huge, huge demonstration, marching down the middle of the street. These radicals with the keffiyehs on, cosplaying that they're terrorists. That in the middle, that green flag, is a Hamas flag. How is this any different than an Al-Qaeda flag on September 12th in 2001? How would that be any different? Flying an ISIS flag. You are flying the flag of a designated terrorist organization in our biggest city, at the scene of the worst terror attack on our country. And you're banging drums and singing songs and wishing for the death of Jews. They're chanting from the river to the sea and globalize the Intifada and free, free Palestine. This is how they celebrate. That's the correct word, by the way, celebrating the atrocities we saw on October 7th. Do you have the other clip? Because this is even more chilling. Outside Trump Tower, a gang of Muslim radicals did their prayers. They did their chanting and protesting and screaming and banging drums. They also went down on the ground, did their thing, and did their Muslim prayers, blocking a main street in New York City, outside Trump Tower. In other words, outside a building that that's owned by our president with his name on it. And this huge mob of Muslim radicals is praying. What are they praying for? Probably the death of Jews, the death of Israel, the destruction of Israel on the anniversary of October 7th. This is beyond sickening, what we're watching. This is the result of open borders, of suicidal empathy, of policies of the Democrat Party. Like if you tried to kick any of these scumbags out of the country, probably on student visas, every Democrat would kick and scream and say, oh, it's free speech. It's free speech to fly the Hamas flag and wish for the death of Jews or the death of Americans, because that's what they're doing. That's what they did in cities across the country. They did it in Boston last night. Huge mob blocked the streets, again, waving, wearing their keffiyehs, waving the Palestinian flag, rooting for Hamas. They injured a bunch of cops. There was like 10 or 12 arrests. They'll all be on the streets again today, back out there protesting, rooting for the terrorists who not only killed Israelis, they killed Americans. They took Americans hostage. And thousands of their fellow Americans are rooting for the barbarians, the savages who did this. It is just so disturbing, and it's going to get worse. What you're seeing right there, that's New York City. Those people are going to vote for an Islamist communist in a month, less than a month. They're going to vote for a communist Muslim who will turn New York City into London. Look at that. Getting down on their knees. They got, I don't know, those prayer rugs, saying their prayers, blocking the street outside Trump Tower in New York City. We have absolutely forgotten. We have lost our minds. We are allowing this. And if we tried to do something, if they tried to arrest people for support of a designated terrorist organization, every Democrat would scream and kick and say that's a violation of their free speech. We want them here. We want more of them here. We want a communist, Marxist, Muslim mayor. It's going to get worse. That's all we know. It is going to get worse before it gets better. All right, we got much more to get to. We got to get to this interview with the next governor of California, Katie Porter. If you haven't seen this yet, this is just priceless. And Pam Bondi, not my favorite cabinet member, but man, she went up there on the Hill yesterday, went before the Senate, and she just went on the offensive. It was great. There's a new philosophy, a new approach for Trump people, for Trump's team when they go before Congress. It's to give it back to them. Don't take any of their crap. She's not Marco Rubio when it comes to testifying before the Senate, but she did pretty well. I'll give her that. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
As the weather cools, I'm swapping in the pieces that actually get the job done. Warm, durable, and built to last. And Quince delivers every time with wardrobe staples that'll carry you through the season. Quince has the kind of fall staples you'll actually want to wear on repeat, like 100% Mongolian cashmere from just $60, classic fit denim, and real leather and wool outerwear that looks sharp and holds up and doesn't cost too much. That's important. I'll tell you what I love. I love my new suede trucker jacket. It's perfect for layering. It just looks really casual and put together. It makes me dread the coming cold nights a little less. By partnering directly with ethical factories and top artisans, Quince cuts out the middleman to deliver premium quality at half the cost of similar brands. Layer up this fall with pieces that feel as good as they look. Go to quince.com/Jerry for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/Jerry. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jerry. Update, no mugshot yet. No mugshot of James Comey. Democrat privilege is real. It's still alive and well. No perp walk, no orange jumpsuit, no handcuffs, no fingerprints. We have seen nothing yet. We're still waiting. But he pleaded not guilty, and he's guilty as hell, as we know. But hopefully he flips on Obama. That's what I want. James Comey to flip on Obama. That would be glorious. All right. We got to get to this Bondi hearing. Again, I like when the Republicans, when Trump team goes before the Senate and pushes back and throws it right back in their face. Pam Bondi's not the best at this. She's a little shrill, shall we say, but she went in there. She had her notes. And she had something on every senator. It was great. I mean, Schiff, She called him a liar to his face, said she would have fired him if he worked for her. She had Alex Padilla, that clown from California, asking about, law and order. She said, what about when you attacked the Kristi Noem in a press conference? Yeah. And they were like, look, they're not used to this. They're used to controlling these hearings. And there's been an effort, an organized effort from Trump's people to not let them control the hearing, to take control, to push back. And that's what she did. It was kind of chaotic at times, but that's good. I want these people to be uncomfortable. She went at whites only, Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island, and she said, what about you voting to send money to your wife's company, which he did. He's so corrupt. He's such a liar. And she pushed back, and he was like looking around going, someone help me. So it was good. It was a little crazy, a little chaotic. But here she is with the chairman, the minority, whatever he is, vice chairman, Dick Durbin, pushing back and pointing out that in his state, Chicago, there is chaos on the ground, and he doesn't care.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
That was good. She had her notes ready to go, and Schiff started looking around for help, going, Chairman, can you do something about the witness? She won't cooperate. They should do this. There's no reason they can't do this. By the way, I got bad news for Democrats. As I pointed out many times, the plan, the strategy for Democrats when it comes to shutdowns is to, shut down the government and then let the media do their job, which is covering for them, carrying their water, doing their bidding. That's how every shutdown in my lifetime has worked. They shut down the government. Immediately, Democrats go to work. Media goes to work protecting Democrats, defending Democrats, blaming Republicans. And they've done it this time, as we know. We've heard it. It ain't working. Check this out. A new Harvard-Harris poll shows most Americans have had enough of the government shutdown, and they want it to end on Republicans' terms. The survey released Monday found 70% of voters opposed the shutdown. Now, with only 30% supporting it, the poll found strong backing for the GOP's proposal to keep the government open. 65% of respondents said Democrats should agree to a continuing resolution without demanding extra funding for the Affordable Care Act. Only 30% said Democrats should continue holding out. So they are losing. This is good news. This is different. This is something new. The media is failing. The media has lost its power in this regard. They're selling you on, blaming Republicans who all voted for the continuing resolution. All the Democrats voted against it. So you can't blame Republicans. They voted to continue for the CR. Democrats voted against it. And immediately media said, Republicans shut down the government. Trump shut down the government. Not true. And the people, America knows that. They're going elsewhere for their information. They're not learning. They're not listening to George Stephanopoulos or Margaret Brennan or whoever else. They just don't have the juice they used to have. All right, let's get to my favorite story of the day. You know who Katie Porter is? Katie Porter is just a real ugly woman inside and out, just a miserable woman. There's all kinds of stories about her in her private life. She dumped a pot of boiling water on her husband at one point. She berates her staff. She's just a nasty, miserable, ugly woman. She's running for governor. She ran for Senate. She lost to Adam Schiff. She's a former congresswoman. She went to Harvard, went to Yale, and she's just a nasty, nasty person. So she's hoping to be the next governor. Obviously, it's California, so she'll probably win. They don't have any stand. They elect Kamala Harris and Adam Schiff, and Nancy Pelosi, it's not like America, it's California. But she's running, and she sits down to do an interview, just a kind of a straightforward Q&A with a CBS reporter in California. And this is so typical of a Democrat, particularly in a very blue place. She lives, works in a bubble. She doesn't ever get pushback. She never gets a tough question. She knows the media is there to help her. They're essentially a wing of her party, of her campaign. She finally gets, like, it's not even a tough question. It's an obvious question, but she doesn't like it. A follow-up question. She says, I don't like getting follow-up questions. Every interview, every honest interview includes follow-up questions. But again, she's a Democrat who lives in her little cocoon and can't handle it. And she shows her true colors. This should be disqualifying. If it weren't California, it probably would be. You would say, what a nasty person. I don't want to elect her. We often hear likability matters in politics. Does anyone have less likability than this heifer? Listen to this.
Be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't.
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that.
Well, to those voters. Okay. So you.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care. I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation, which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make.
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these. And if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. I don't want to on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to ask questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And I've asked everybody the same follow-up questions.
I don't want to have an unpleasant experience. I'm guessing everybody who's ever dealt with you, encountered you, has an unpleasant experience. It is amazing. I don't know what the latest polls are, but she's a serious candidate to run our biggest state. That miserable, nasty woman. Good job by the reporter, though. She says, I've never had to deal with this. You've never had follow-up questions? What the hell? That is, she is just disgusting. People got to vote for that. All right. On a more positive note, I have to commend once again the Department of Homeland Security. If you don't follow the various agencies in the Trump administration, they have a little competition. Who can do the best on social media? Who's the best at tweeting and posting and putting music and making montages? These people, and I think, again, the cabinet members are great. Trump team, Stephen Miller, Kash, Marco are great. But the media, the social media people are stars in this administration. And as we talked about, it was a big deal. It is a big deal. Zach Bryan, formerly my favorite guy. I love his music, but I'm out. I'm out on Zach. I wanted him to do the halftime show in a Super Bowl. Not anymore. Now I'm all in on Jason Aldean and Kid Rock. But anyway, Zach Bryan decided to go full Dixie Chicks and write a song, sing a song about ICE agents terrorizing children in neighborhoods, and went all in on demonizing ICE, which is just insane when you think about it, because I'm going to say, I don't know, 3/4 of Zach Bryan's fans are patriots, are Trump supporters, are MAGA, are true blue Americans that support ICE, and yet he turns on them. And I guess he's too big to cancel. Zach Bryan, you know what he did the other day, just a week ago? He did a concert in Michigan Stadium, in front of 112,000 people. It's being called the biggest concert. Let me get here it is. It is the largest ticketed concert in U.S. history, breaking a record previously held by George Strait, which I believe was in Dallas. 112,000 people. How many of them, Zach Bryan, have a problem with ICE, have a problem with Border Patrol rounding up illegal alien criminals? How many of them think ICE or whatever, Nazis, Gestapo? What are you thinking? I understand he's a little crazy, a little nuts. He drinks a lot. But what the hell was he thinking? Anyway, a lot of those 112,000 probably regret going to the show. I'm done. I'm out on Zach Bryan. Used to be my favorite, Pandora station. No more. Anyway, Homeland Security the next day trolls the crap out of Zach Bryan. This was so good. Watch.
Lord, forgive us, my boys and me. We're having an all-night revival. Some call the women and some will steal the Bible. For to save my survival. Baptize me in a bottle of bean for Johnny on the vinyl.
I need that. I need someone like that. We need a social media guy. Those guys are so good. It was a montage of ICE doing their job all night, and they played Revival by Zach Bryan, put it to music, and it was perfect. And I'm not sure Zach ever recovers from this. I understand. He doesn't need it. He's got plenty of money. He's got he's wildly successful. But it's like, again, like the Dixie Chicks or like Garth Brooks. It's one thing if Bad Bunny, comes out against, or Katy Perry or somebody comes out against ICE or against Trump or against America. It's another thing for Zach Bryan. Or, does he know who his fan base is? Does he care? Does he have people telling him this is probably not a good idea? Great montage, though, of them doing their job all night. I think people are...
We're on to supporting Morgan Wallen now.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen. I mean, I like the fact that Morgan Wallen's kind of crazy and he's kind of out of control, and they tried to cancel him and they failed. He would be huge. He's almost as big as, he's probably bigger than Zach Bryan. He'd be a good halftime guy. But if they had Morgan Wallen at halftime, ESPN would spend like weeks talking about how he once, yelled out the N-word when he was drunk to his friend, or how he threw a chair off a rooftop and almost hit a cop. They would be just, it's okay to have Snoop Dogg do the halftime show, but Morgan Wallen, that's like a bridge too far. But it's not going to, there's going to be real pushback on Bad Bunny. People are pissed and disgusted. What if he comes out in a dress? What if he kisses a guy while he's doing his stupid Spanish language songs? There's people are going to be disgusted, and they should be. It's a terrible, terrible choice. All right, do I have time for this? Speaking of terrible choice, I want to get to this Belichick story. Let's do Candace Owen quick. Candace Owen, if you're not paying attention, has gone off the rails. All she does, I listened to a show the other day. It's just like an hour of conspiracies and crazy, throwing it out there, just asking questions, just throwing it out there. She thinks, I'm not sure who she thinks killed Charlie Kirk at this point. His people at TP USA, Israel, Mossad. She's got a different theory every day. But I'll give her this. It's working, first of all. I just looked that up. She has the 5th highest rated podcast in her category, ahead of Ben Shapiro and Pod Save America. She's right there with Megyn Kelly, the top of the charts. It's working. These crazy conspiracy theories. I don't know. She's tapping into, the Alex Jones audience, but it's working for her commercially. But she is absolutely out of her mind. She's moved on from saying Macron's wife is a man to saying Charlie was killed by evil dark forces from Israel or whatever. But here's what she bases her opinion on. This is just insane. I mean, again, she's entertaining is what she's doing. She's just being an entertainer. She's not really, not really based in facts. It's based on dreams. She's got a theory on Charlie Kirk, and she's backing it up by saying, yes, he came to me in a dream. She actually says this. Check it out.
Like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually. And I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences. Take that to the bank. Quote me on that. Women tend to have a strong...
Take it to the bank that Charlie came to her in a dream and said he was betrayed. Oh, should I do that, Iron Ed? Do you think I should come up with some crazy conspiracy theories and blame, Israel for everything? And you think that would work? Because it's working for Candace.
I think if you come on the show tomorrow and you say that Bad Bunny came to you in a dream and said the half-time,
he tried to kiss me. This guy, who's this? Jack on the comment line said, Candace lost it for ratings. How did she? I don't quite get that though. Like she knew saying crazy shit like that would get her ratings. It just, when I see her here, I laugh. I mean, again, she's articulate, she's smart, but she's deranged. And even if Charlie came to you in a dream, how does that help your case? Yeah, he was set up. He was betrayed. How do I know? He told me in a dream. Is there anyone on her team who says, Candace, that's a little nutty? You can have other theories, but he came to you in a dream? What is this? Like some Twilight Zone, some movie? Like, I see dead people. Yeah, I saw Charlie. He told me he was betrayed. I never get her theories. And again, I listened a couple times and, she's got all these crazy, just thrown out there, just asking questions. She says, I don't know, but I know. That's her thing. I don't know, but I know that Charlie was betrayed. Well, how's the connection? What's the connection to Tyler Robinson, this deranged young freak who's living with a tranny furry freak and hates Charlie and shot him while Charlie was talking about trans things? So was he a tool of Mossad, or was he working with Charlie's friends at TPUSA? Was he connected to Erica Kirk? That's the kind of thing you hear from her, and it just makes no sense. There's no connection. It was a radicalized young person, radicalized online, radicalized by the trans cult, who shot and killed him. I don't think Netanyahu had a role, just me. Nor do I think anyone at TPUSA had a role. They're heartbroken. They're devastated. Anyway, I want to get to this because we've talked about Belichick going back to college a lot. And I said this since December when he took the job. I said, it took guts, man. It took balls to do that. He was taking a big risk to go back to college. He could have waited, see if he could get any interest in NFL teams who are losing, failing here. I think he'd be on the short list of 3 or 4 teams right now in the NFL, maybe even the Jets, which would be wild. And he would be where he belongs in the NFL. So he goes back to college, a tough spot, UNC, tough to compete in the ACC, tough to compete, against, teams like Clemson and, you name it, TCU. It has been an abject disaster. He took a risk. He took a chance. He is failing spectacularly. And I wasn't rooting for him to fail. I kind of thought it was fascinating to watch, see how it all worked out for the greatest coach in NFL history to go to college and see how it worked out at age 73. But I wasn't rooting for this again, but it's happening. And one thing I've always appreciated is a good, devastating rip job from the media, from the sports media. Don't see it much anymore. You don't see it. The old days, you had columnists who were muckrakers, who would go at people in sports, who would go at powerful people like Belichick. In this case, somebody named Pat Welter from WRAL, sports anchor reporter, down in Baltimore, down in North Carolina, just destroys him. I haven't seen too many rip jobs like this in my life. It is devastating, and it makes you wonder if Belichick's even going to survive the season. This guy, Pat Welter, talks to insiders, sources, and also parents. And where to begin? Source with firsthand knowledge told WRAL, it's an unstructured mess. There's no culture, no organization. It's a complete disaster. Move on. We'll go down to this. This is a parent of a current UNC player who requested anonymity. It's all starting at the top. The boys are being affected. I don't fault the players. I fault leadership that has created this toxic environment. The boys are young and they're feeding into it. It goes in to explain how Belichick made his son the highest paid assistant, and his son is not communicating. I didn't even talk to the players, son Steve. And it goes on to say that transfers who he got to come to UNC are favored, but he gives them the best parking spaces. He gives them extra tickets, and the players who were there, who stayed around, are pissed, and their parents are pissed. And it just goes on and on. Let me get to some of the highlights. Yes, Stephen Belichick brought recruits from Washington, and those recruits are Belichick's favorite guys. Let's see, another parent. There's been zero communication with coaches and parents, period. None, zero, zilch. Not one email from a coach, not one text, phone call, nothing. He has not talked or had a conversation with most of the guys. They don't even have his number. The lack of experience the coaches have, it's ridiculous, says a source. And goes on to talk about Mike Lombardi, his buddy who's now the GM. A source says Bill shuts people out. He's limited in what he says. Belichick will say hi when he sees a player, but that's it. Nobody likes him. Paul Feinbaum from ESPN said at this point, Belichick might be, quote, the worst coach in college football history. A documentary that was planned by Hulu to track his first season at UNC has been canceled because it wouldn't be good for Belichick or his 24-year-old girlfriend. They canceled the making of this, inside the UNC program documentary on Hulu. They're 2-3. They've been blown out 3 times. They were just destroyed by Clemson, and it's not getting any better. This is not looking good for Coach Belichick. I would be shocked if he survives for a second season. I mean, they'll have to pay him a fortune, but it sounds like a real revolt in Chapel Hill. Not good. Good for I'm sure the Crafts are enjoying this. The It's All Brady crowd. It was all Brady crowd is certainly enjoying this because it sure looks like it was all Brady at this point. But we'll see. We'll see. Belichick is going to be so grouchy and grumpy and ornery and nasty. But, that works when you win. You can be that way when you win. When you lose, people turn on you, and they are turning on Coach Bill. But, all right, that will do it for today. Still waiting for the mugshot. Let me look. No mugshot. Where the hell is the mugshot? Damn it. We demand a mugshot of James Comey, but we'll see. Maybe it'll come out later today. That will do it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from